What do people normally do? And that would always piss me off. Who cares what people normally do? Do whatever you want.
You kind of have to go all in.
You have to go all in.
Today, guys, I have a very special guest all the way from Toronto. Now have been living in Japan the last 2.5 years. He have been working with music artists, entrepreneurs, and now he's starting a whole new chapter here in Japan. And I'm here with him right now, my friend, generous guy, Derek. So today we're doing a short interview to hear more about how did you end up in Tokyo, to hear more about where it started.
Yeah, of course.
How did you become who you are today?
So I guess quick context for the viewers. I'm 37 years old. I've been an entrepreneur since 21. I've always known I wanted to pursue entrepreneurship, pursue the development of who I am, and to make the most of life. And how I came to that worldview and that mindset was when I was very young. I was forced to work for my dad. Starting from 8 years old, he forced me to work for him in his business. And during that time, I had so much time to think. And I analyzed what path regular people take. And I realized that I didn't want to take that path. And it didn't make sense for me because I feel like, why does it make sense to work 5 days a week and only live your life on Fridays after 5 p.m.? So I really realized early on that not only does the normal path not make sense, funny enough, once I also went into high school, started listening to hip hop music, people like Eminem, Jay-Z, 50 Cent, you realize that their songs and their stories are so good because they came from bad places. They came from unfortunate environments, but they were able to turn the negativity into something positive. And that was very inspirational for me. I felt like I came from a very negative childhood, very negative family setting. It wasn't the greatest. I had to work for my parents. My parents were always arguing with each other. And I realized, oh, this is actually good material for my movie, for the life of my movie. To say that one day, you know, I came from this place, that I started from McDonald's, working at McDonald's at 16. So that the worldview and mindset that kind of powers me, and which is what brought Tokyo.
It's kind of like in every big story. If Batman didn't lose his parents, he wouldn't be Batman.
Exactly.
Now we've been talking to other entrepreneurs as well. It seems there has to be like some event or something that happened early in their life that really put them on that path. I'm not sure how that's connected, but you said that when you were young, you kind of knew you didn't want to take like a normal path, the 9 to 5. Was that from the songs mostly? You got this like, okay, I want to live more like they do? Or was it like some person, someone you looked up to, or something you saw where it's like, okay, I got to take a different path?
So what happened was, because I was in a childhood home that wasn't like the best childhood home, and because I was forced to work for my dad, I realized very, very early on that our family is not normal. Because anytime I would go into, let's say, a friend's house to play, you know, when you're young, you go play at your friend's house, their vibe in their house always felt happier than mine. So I realized, oh, there is something weird going on in this house. And I realized we're not normal. And I started to question what is normal. Almost like if an alien came down to Earth, they would ask so many questions. Why do you guys do this? Why is this normal? Why is this your culture? Why is this tradition? Why do you go to high school and university and you have to get a job and you have to, like, you would ask why? So because I had the label of different, my family is different, I kept asking all these why questions to myself when I had time. And I realized that the 9 to 5 path, the normal path, doesn't allow you to fully develop who you are, to pursue your passions. And that's why that mindset plus listening to hip hop music and understanding their story, those two things combined, I realized, oh, like you can really do anything you want in this world if you work hard enough at it, if you're talented, if you find the right people. And that's what kind of built the fuel.
How was it like making friends in high school? Was that difficult for you? Like,
yeah, it was
connecting with people?
Very, very difficult. I was very, very shy because of my family situation. I just always felt like beneath regular people. Partly because, you know, my dad, he did renovations. So he would go into people's homes, paint their walls, change their toilet, renovate their kitchen, do home upgrades. And whenever I worked for him, I had to wear very dirty clothes because you're going to get dirty anyways. No point wearing nice clothes. And I remember when I would work for him, always wearing dirty clothes. When we would go to the department store to buy wood, to buy paint, parents would look at me and like pull their kids away from me because they would see like a dirty kid.
Wow.
So I always felt like less than. So in high school, I was very insecure, very shy, didn't know how to make friends as well as I do now. But I realized that I need to work. I realized that if I keep being this insecure, shy person, where will it take? Like I asked myself to look in the future. If I keep going down this path, where does it lead? And I didn't like that outcome, so I decided to change it.
Wow. So after high school, what happened then?
After high school, I went to university. I know I didn't want to go to university, but I also didn't know what to do with the time. So I said, you know what, I'll go to university. My parents will get off my back. And then I have a few more years to figure out what I want to do. So I went to university, I graduated. And then as soon as I graduated, I decided to enroll to audio engineering school, which is a school that teaches you how to work in the music studios, how to record people, because that was where my path, like music. And then that's kind of how it started my whole journey of eventually becoming a photographer, working in the music industry and all that kind of stuff.
But at that time, after high school, did you also start to think about, okay, I want to get out? Did you start at that time to think about entrepreneurship?
So even in high school, I always knew I wanted to do my own thing. I kept saying to myself, I'm going to do my own thing. I just didn't know what my own thing was. And it's something that slowly developed. So after university, I went to audio engineering school. I realized I wasn't good at working in the studio. If I was recording someone and they were singing, I couldn't tell you if you were in C sharp or B minor. I couldn't tell you because I didn't have music background. And I realized I'm not going to succeed in this aspect of music. And it just so happened that I started a music blog. And because my music blog was getting views, I leveraged the blog. I would reach out to promoters. Concerts were in town. Like, oh, Rick Ross is in town. I would message the promoter and say, hey, I have a blog. It gets 1,000 views a day. Can I get a press pass? And then they would say, okay, yeah, sure. You know? And then I convinced my parents to use their American Express points to buy me like a very beginner digital camera.
Oh, really?
And then I would show up at these concerts and like take photos for my blog. So that was kind of like how I got into photography, how I kind of still use my music to start building myself into the journey of what is my own thing, what is my path.
I think for a lot of people also, they'll take a career and then they'll stick with that career even though they don't like it. But you're pretty quick to say, okay, I'm not gonna be the best at this, but I'm gonna find an angle at it. But how did it happen? So one day you were just like, okay, I'm gonna start a blog.
I realized I loved music. So I loved new music. I loved sharing new music, new hip hop music. And I also realized there was power in owning the platform, which was the website. I didn't know much beyond that, but that's just what got me started. So I think in the beginning, it's like being very honest with yourself, what you're good at, what you're feeling, what you're seeing, creating opportunities to win. I didn't think that blog would lead to this and lead to that, but you have to just like keep creating and keep following your excitement. And while doing all these things, while running around the city, messaging promoters, taking photos, like I ended up learning how to communicate better, learning how to be social, learning how the music industry works, and developing the skill for photography, you know, and then I transferred that skill for photography into wedding photography, because when I was learning photography, a lot of the cool photographers I found out were from LA. They were photographing weddings in a very cool way. I never knew you could photograph a wedding in a cool way before, and that inspired me to get into it. And it just so happened that wedding photography can pay the bills.
So wedding with photography is one of those better, like that's where you get paid more.
That's where you get paid more. It's a lot of work. It's very hard, but I loved it. So and then again, I decided to become a wedding photographer. I just decided, and that was my career for 12 years. And because Toronto is a very cold place, people only get married in the summertime, between May till October. So for the other half of the year, I had so much free time. So that's when I used the money from photography and I invested into new businesses, invested into new ideas, into managing my own artists, funding their careers, funding their studio sessions. Because I had a little bit of business background from photography, business background from going to the venues and promoters and events, I kind of combined all these things to show an artist, hey, if you trust me, I can do something for you. And it worked out where the first artist I managed, I brought on a co-manager. We blew him up from nobody to one of the most well-known people in Canada.
Was that Anders?
Anders. Yeah, we had songs on the radio, sold out shows. I have a platinum plaque over here.
I don't want no love, I just want
And again, there's no, I think this is Steve Jobs' quote. You might know it. Like, things only make sense looking backwards.
Yes.
You can't plan your way to success. I'm going to do this, and then we'll do this, and we'll do this.
Yeah, no.
Oh, it's only looking backwards you realize.
If you take a normal career, because I think many people would just, okay, I'll go to college, and then they'll go into the job, and then you have like pretty clear, you had to really think on your feet, okay, well, now I'm starting with this blog, and then I'm going to go out. And then, okay, what I'm going to do now is like, you don't know the path.
You don't know the path. You usually have to follow. You have to keep investing in yourself, keep learning, keep growing, keep developing new skills, because it doesn't matter how much passion you have. If you're not creating something of value, no one's going to hire you. So it's being honest with yourself, creating value, keep learning, and just keep going. And then you realize, go here, and then eventually you figure out the path up the mountain.
Did you have like some days? I mean, a lot of people say when they're 25, that's where they're like, either they have a really clear path, but it's also a lot of people's like, what do I do with my life? Now I'm starting to get 30. Do I stay in this place? Like, what was that experience like? You're doing these photographers, but did you have, was it like this kind of smooth sailing once you got into this? Or was it also like a very bumpy road?
No, it was only until like 3-4 years ago. Only when I turned 32, maybe, starting from 21. So it took about 11-12 years to get stable. But because I enjoyed the journey, I enjoyed the process, I knew this was the right path. Just was a matter of time. And that's what allowed me to stick through it.
I see. What made you like know this was the path? Because was it like intuition? Because you also talk a lot about if you have clarity, from clarity comes confidence.
Yes.
How did you get clear this is the right path? How do you know if you're on the right path?
It still goes back to the very, very beginning. When I was a kid thinking about life to when I was mid-20s working as a photographer. Some days were good, some days were bad. I always took it back to step one. How many times do I live? The answer was always once. So that means I should use this time in ways that I would appreciate no matter what. Whether it works out, whether it doesn't work out. So that was always my thing. I always get, okay, let's go back to the beginning. Let's restart this scenario. Let's think about it. And you realize because you only live once, you should devote your time to things that excite you while you're here. Be grateful for these opportunities. And I also realized listening to, again, the hip hop artists, seeing the real world. Hey, people have made it. So
people out there have made it.
Exactly.
Like, if they can, there's not one person. It's not
exactly.
Like one, that's like if you go down to Morisando here, for people who don't know, in Japan is one of the richest area. You'll see like millionaire here, millionaire here. Millionaire. So it's not that's people. That's and if they can,
exactly. So all of that was clarity for me. It was like it's in my face.
Right.
Like I'm not to say otherwise, to say that you can't make it. That is almost a lie.
Yes.
Right. So I saw the truth. The truth is you can make it, but it's just gonna be difficult. Clarity gave me the confidence to keep going, and then confidence leads you into action, and action is all that matters on the journey to success. Keep taking action.
I feel like that quote of like you only live once is something that you mention a lot, and also your dog was
my dog name was Zilio.
Was that how did that name come about? Was it the same process?
When I got my dog around 25, that's when Drake dropped the song YOLO. So not only did I believe you only live once and you should cherish everything, but I thought it'd be a funny word for my mom and my dad to say when they were calling him. I said, fuck it.
That's true.
Yeah, right? I feel like seeing an old Asian parent saying YOLO, YOLO, you know what I mean?
That's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, so it was just me being immature, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to name him YOLO. And that's how that happened.
Okay, so then you got into photography, and then there was Anders. You mentioned in one of your videos that, you and Will, your partner, you were like growing Anderson, but then you had like a fallout or something, something happened. But he continued in the music business, but you went into more like entrepreneurship at this point.
So I was a photographer. During the same time, I managed Anders and other artists. We learned so much of how to talk to brands, how to talk to corporations, how to talk to all these things. So I developed all these skill sets. Not only could I make the creative assets because I was a photographer, I know how to speak the language to companies. I had business experience. And during that time, COVID had happened. Weddings photography stopped for a bit. Music shows stopped for a bit. And I realized I need to go online. So me and my very close friends, we were always at we all lived together at the time. Our house, our apartment was like the incubator. We were always, eat food, watch videos, brainstorm ideas, work on stuff together. And like our living room was like this incubator. So it just so happened that during that time we said, you know what, let's all start this e-commerce company. And luckily it took off. Wow. And it took all of our skill sets, all of our individual skill sets to build it into what it is today. And that's something that made me realize you just have to keep going, keep discovering new people to work with, keep bringing more to the table, and keep trying things.
But for a lot of people, I think also myself, like a lot of people have this shiny object syndrome where they'll go from one thing, okay, this I'm gonna do e-commerce now, I'm gonna do dropshipping now. Right. Did you have that?
No, it was just very natural. It was just more so, let's do what excites us, what we think is dope. What can we do to provide value? What can we do to make it dope? How can we market this? It just kind of naturally evolved from our own personal desires for what we wanted to see in the company that we have.
Right. I see. I think having some like being around people is also what can really help you grow in startup.
Absolutely.
But so you were all living in like one apartment, just getting ideas, like trying new things.
Yeah, exactly. We had a lot of failures in that apartment. A lot of
you had the Sango.
Yeah, we had so many companies that started failed, each one to varying degrees of success. But we were just like excited about trying, excited about what we could do, inspired by other people. So we, even though we suffered failures, it didn't feel like failures, you know. And I think that is the blessing of being young and kind of foolish, where you just try this, you know, because eventually you stumble on something and that thing ends up changing your life.
Wow, yeah, that's true. You had to go through a lot of ideas, but how did you know when to move on from, like, as you had a little bit of success with, for example, Sango or like one of the other companies, like the lube company. How did you know when, okay, this is making money, but we're gonna go on to the next one? I mean, you could also double down on that one.
Yeah, for sure. Like, for instance, when we decided to walk away from the music industry, it was a very tough decision. But at every step of your life, you just have to be very honest with yourself. And again, try to future project. If I keep on this path, where will it take me? Is it somewhere where I want to be? Do I think there's success at the end of this road? And you just have to use your best judgment, you know. So we'll never know. Maybe if I stuck with one of those companies, I'll be even more known. But you have to decide, and then you live with your choice. Once you've made your choice, you can change it later. But let's go. This is what I've decided. Let's go 100% hard on this and see where it goes. And we'll decide again later. We'll figure it out later. You know, and that's always been the mindset.
Wow. Yeah. I think for at least for me, and maybe also for the people watching, I think you often feel like, I'm gonna keep the doors open, or I'm just gonna do a little bit because I can always go back. Or maybe I'm gonna keep this job in the backhand because it's safe. But you kind of have to go all in.
You have to go all in
if you want to win. You cannot do. I think there's also like this quote saying you can't catch two rabbits, like or something. Two stones and one bird or something. You have to choose a path. You have to choose a path.
Yeah, you have to choose.
Now you've been here in Japan for more than 2 years now. What does that path look like? Now you went to LA without no spoiling, but, but now you're gonna start this company. And how does Japan fit in?
Well, the beauty of the time that we live in right now is that with the internet, with social media, and now with AI, almost everything can be done online. So I just came back from LA. We met with manufacturers for a new business venture that we want to start. But my role specifically, as long as I have a computer, as long as I'm keeping up with marketing trends, influencers, all that kind of stuff, I'm able to do my work anywhere in the world. And I think that is true for a lot of people. So we need to take advantage of the blessings that we have in this current time, which is the internet, technology, you know, and make it work from there.
I see. But so what do you see like going in Japan? Are you planning to do business in Japan later on?
No, I'm not going to plan to do business in Japan. I think Japan's a very hard place to do business. I don't want to complicate my life. I just want to live here.
Yes.
Enjoy it.
It is a hard, both the language and the rules.
So much.
The yen is low. But recently now we've talked to a lot of people as well. They say, you know, there's a big opportunity in Japan because the yen is low. You can start buy businesses for sale.
Right.
Do you see yourself investing in Japan in a business?
No, I always...
You want to keep it US and Canada?
Yeah. I think there are times when it's good to go out of your lane, and there are times when you should stay in your lane. And when it comes to Japan and business, I can see clearly and I understand that the lane for Japan for me is just personal living and not to mix it with business. When I first came here, I tried it for a couple months and it was incredibly difficult.
Like, tried how?
I was trying to bring the lube company that I had in Canada and US over to Japan, and I realized it is so different the way they do things, you know, and it's not worth, at this point in time, it's not worth the investment to try and learn that whole new skill. I'd rather double down on what's working in North America.
That makes sense. I mean, also now you have already had success, you already have, you know, people in those places, you invested so much time in it. A lot of the people watching are probably also interested in coming to Japan, starting a business now. What were some of the hard parts of like doing, for example, the lube?
Yeah, so like just language, of course, the business etiquette. North American culture is very, hey, let's grab a coffee, let's talk shop, tell me what you got going on, tell you what you got going on, let's see if we can connect. Japan is not like that.
It's like, no.
It's like it's not as open. It's things are like step by step. They take time, and that is just not the North American way. We're very, you know, just very different.
100%.
You know, and so that's what made me realize, like, okay, this is a different speed.
100%. I think for a lot of people, like at least when you read about about it, they say that Japan is much more relationship focused, like building trust, where the US is more results. Like if you deliver results and you have a good relation, that's what's most important. Like sometimes Japan would even stay, do something that's not most efficient just because of the relationship. Even though some new technology is coming, they don't want to fire this person. It's kind of like that.
Very different way of thinking. It's a very different approach to business.
Okay, I think a little bit of a different path here. I have some questions that I want to know. Like, first of all, in your apartment, like now you sold your apartment in Toronto, you had this wall of your favorite like idols. You have like different, Bob Marley and this and that. Who would you say is the biggest idol or influence in your life that you really look up to?
This might sound cheesy, but because I am from Toronto, I honestly look up to Drake a lot. Why I look up to him so much is because who he was at the start of his career, the way he rapped, the way he dressed, is completely different from who he is now.
100%.
So you realize that for him to have stayed relevant for all these years, for him to keep growing in popularity, growing in popularity and to be the number one rapper in the game was purely through hard work. So it just makes you realize like, if I continue to work on my craft, the way I look, the people I invest in around me, that is the path to success. And I can see it. And not only was he someone who came from the same city, so you really believe like, oh shit, like we can do anything. Like who the fuck thought a kid from Toronto would be the number one rapper in the game for like 20 years now?
He's the GOAT.
He's the GOAT, right? So it shows you, again, anything is possible, but you have to work at it.
100%, dude. It is so true. I think like it is inspiring how he keeps like evolving. It's always a new sound.
Yes.
And we talked about it the other day, like you have so many memories to his songs as well. I like him. Okay, another question is also, you did like 400 photo shoots, right? With the for the wedding.
A lot of weddings I photographed.
How do you want to get married?
I either want a super grand wedding in Lake Como, Lake Como, Italy, or something very super low key, very small. What I learned from wedding photography is it doesn't really matter if, like, I photographed amazing weddings that were in people's backyards, small little restaurants, small little venues, and I've also photographed grand weddings where they probably spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, big banquet halls, tons of flowers. But what matters most is like the intimacy that you can create. And that's something that's very important to me. I think, knowing what's important for you before you go into planning the wedding is the most important thing. Are you doing it for you? Are you doing it for your guests? Are you doing it for your parents? Are you doing it for your friends? Like, who are you doing this for? Because these are all different weddings that you're planning. And that's what I learned.
What's the video where you talk about like what do you want the wedding to be? Is it, as you say, is it about friends? Is it like having a great party? I think that probably counts a lot in life as well. Like, you gotta know what you want.
This is your life. What do you want?
What do you want?
What do you want? Like, even before I went on this trip to LA and Toronto 2 weeks ago, I was like, I'm gonna be leaving Tokyo for 2 weeks. What do I want to eat before I leave? Very simple question. But then you take small moments like that and if you can wrap it around a larger thing. What do I want to eat before I leave Tokyo? What do I want this day to do on this day? What do I want to do this week? What do I want to do this month? What do I want to do this year? What do I want to do in this lifetime? Keep asking yourself, what is it that I want?
100%. I feel it's something that most people miss. I can also see it myself sometimes. Like, you're so stressed in the day to day, or you don't really have time to think about what you want. And then because of pressure from family or friends, you want to be somewhere, and then you just, okay, well, I'm just gonna do this. Or probably you saw a lot of people getting married where they're just like, okay, that is the right thing to do, so I'm gonna get married now, but they don't really know why or what.
A lot of people, whether planning their weddings, planning their life, or they're on autopilot mode.
100%.
A lot of the brides, when I would meet with them for the initial client meeting, they would ask, what do people normally do? And that would always piss me off.
Because
who cares what people normally do? It's your wedding. Do whatever you want. Why is what other people do your compass for where I should go?
100%.
Right?
I think it's because of it's kind of like, if everyone does this, then it's safe, or then it's the way to go. And that's why I think so many people just take that path of just, okay, I'm just gonna take a normal job, go to this and that. But because being alone and dealing with the uncomfort of just standing like, what do I do now? Like, I have no clue what I'm gonna do. Should I stay here? You have no guiding. There's no roadmap. But
so it is like, to acknowledge it is very uncomfortable to decide to, I'm not going to follow the group. I'm going to venture off and figure out my own life. It's very uncomfortable, very uncertain. It's very risky. As humans, we're not evolved to do that, because that is in prehistoric times. time, that is how you die.
100%.
Right?
Yeah,
so we're
sure.
biologically evolved to follow the group, do what everyone does because that's safe. So I get it. But at the same time, you have to realize in this day and age, it's okay. Like you're not going to die.
Yeah.
It will be difficult, but you will find more enjoyment. So it's kind of
true.
like,
It's so true. I think it's also, now when you say that you have to leave the group, it is in our DNA, like you have to stay with your group because otherwise you die. But if you, because of the world is so big now, I mean like Cameron, Yasha is German, you know, you're from Canada, like there is that group out there.
Yeah.
So you can find that group if you just take the leap. Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, it's for the first time in probably human history, it's been safe to leave the group.
For sure.
And it's almost better to leave the group, which is one of the reasons why I came to Tokyo. I feel like Tokyo is a place where you can get away from the noise of North America. North America, a very noisy place, so many political opinions, right? You can get away, but you still have access to the best quality of living. So living here, separating myself even further from the group, I've come to so much more realizations about life and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's also this Alex Hormozi quote where he says, if you want to be exceptional, you have to be the exception. You gotta take risks to get a big outcome.
Yep.
I just really admire how it seems that both, you know, you're very aware of how you want your life to be, who you want to be hanging out with, what you want to do. You go also into the art of living big. Maybe you could also talk a little bit about what does that mean to you?
I would like to say though, the awareness builds over time. Like in the beginning, you just have like little ideas. You have little voices in your head that say, hey, maybe I should decide for myself, or maybe I should, you know, and I think it's very important to listen to that voice inside you that may have a different opinion from the voice of your parents, the voice of your friends, the voice of society. So it is important to quiet the world down and reflect and, you know, but to your other question of what is the art of living big, that was the original brand for my YouTube when I first started. And I think there's an art to living, but the art to living is different for everyone. A fisherman in a small town in Italy has an art to living. Someone, a busy man in Tokyo making millions, billions of dollars with a personal driver has his own art to live. But what I wanted to do with art of living big was asking myself, if I was the biggest version of myself, meaning the most confident, the most creative, the most just you at your peak, what would your life look like? And I wanted to find out. I wanted to find out because, again, going back to the thing, we're only here once. What is there to be afraid of?
You have to go for
it. It's I have more fear of regret. Do you feel the same way?
100%.
Right? So if you have more fear of regret, then I know I have to go 100% and let's just go.
But I think Tony Robbins actually talks a lot about this having leverage on yourself. Like you can't have, like if you don't smoke, if you want to quit smoking and just feel like, it would be nice to stop, I should stop, then you're never gonna stop. It has to be a must for you. And you having that fear of not living to your full potential gives you that, okay, I have to go.
Exactly.
I must. You must go. You must find out what's going on. What I think is also really interesting is like you see it with, you know, David Goggins or people who really, I feel like as a person and spiritually have grown a lot, they often come through really hard times. Like, because for most people it comes later in life. They'll have a death in their family, or they'll have the business goes down, or they'll have some big catastrophe, but that happens much later in life, 40, 50, 60. But for you, it happened so young. That has also given you the tools and awareness to think about, like, how do I actually want to live?
So I think it's almost a blessing for people like us where we did go through difficulties when we were younger. In a very weird way, it can set you up for success.
What I'm also very curious about, Derek, is like now you're starting this whole YouTube thing. What is that about? What do you want to achieve with the YouTube, and what's your goal with it?
So the two things I wanted to achieve with YouTube, one is just documenting my life. I think it's just such an incredible thing for not only as a photographer through photos to document life, but through video to remember moments, remember stories, remember stupid stuff that happened, happy stuff, sad stuff, whatever. I think it's just so important because you should love your life. And I've gotten to the point where I do love my life. So that is the baseline. And the second layer on top of that is I realized that life is the sum of your experiences. And there are certain experiences that can only be unlocked by having a personal brand, by having some sort of quote unquote status. Money is not everything in this world. Even a rich guy has to stand outside the club. But if you're somebody, they might say, oh shit, you're somebody, come in. Right? So you realize there are certain things that can only be unlocked by having a personal brand, by having some sort of status. So I know that I'm chasing that for the right reason, to unlock more amazing experiences that I share with myself, my family, my friends. And if that doesn't happen, it's fine, because layer one is still just documenting my life. And I'm happy with that already. That's it's already a victory. So this is just bonus, and that's why I decided to get into YouTube.
I think also just it inspires people to see how you live, you know, what you're doing in your day-to-day life, and also how it's filmed.
Yeah.
So sick. To wrap it up, yeah, bro, that was amazing. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Always good chatting.
Yeah. If you want to follow Derek on his social media, you can find him at Derek Hui, and we'll put it right here. Thank you for coming, and see you in the next one. Take care, guys.